Okay, so hi Emma.
Hi.
So today we are plastering. It is about 10:30, quarter to 11 sort of thing, and we've learnt how to do this much. Just following YouTube videos really. And Zara's on the big wired trail, so she's trying to smooth everything out as we go. We've learned if you mix, because this bucket was like $45, you can get the bags of plaster and mix your own compound for like 36, but unless you're doing a whole heap, this is just way easier. So you put it on your trowel, mix it around, and it gets a lot creamier and smoother and just nicer consistency. So we've learned that. And then you sort of just smack it on. And then we've got paper tape. So you put the paper tape on. Make sure all your screws are flush because we've already had a couple that we'd neglected. So that's a fun thing. That's what Reese is doing now. Spot filling, I think it's called. So Reese, if you also see any other dents or anything, feel free to just whack some plaster in the dent. Yeah. So this is sort of how we're going, and it isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. To be fair, we've also got one hole drilled for the light. And next one's marked out, so we'll just quickly do that with the hole saw while we're here.
So here we are. We have pretty much fucking Rocky. We have, I say we, I mean these three have pretty much finished the first coat of plaster, except for some of the screws on the roof and just this little bit here. They'll put the paper tape on that last bit, and then we wait for ages until it dries, and then we should be able to put the next coat on. Well, yes, I'm sure these people know how sanding and plastering works. So yeah, excuse my shoddy camera work, but yes. Say hi.
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 My camera's shit, it distorts things for some reason.
That's alright. Yeah, my phone's pretty much flat, so we're using multiple cameras, multiple angles, and just edit it all together. So we're getting somewhere. We've just done our first corner, and then it started to bubble and come out up the top, so I had to add another piece of paper tape, because corners are tricky. And then we're just, we've got to keep an eye on these bubbles because they're just coming out of nowhere now. But the coolest thing is, I guess, when you're mixing this stuff on your trowel, Reese, can I get you to just mix this real quick? So you see how lumpy that is? Does anyone else remember when you had ice cream at your grandmother's house and you just mixed it in a bowl until you got soft serve pretty much? Did anyone else do that? Because that's exactly what we're getting here. And so it was rough before, now it's nice and smooth and creamy and somehow becomes more liquid. It's good shit. Tasty. Alright. So we're getting there, but it is a bit of a mission, not gonna lie. Hopefully this bucket isn't gonna dry out anytime soon, but it's the risk we run. So I'll just keep tackling the corners and these guys can keep doing the straights. Not quite certain how we're gonna handle this, whether we even do it at all, because our window trim should attach to this piece of wood and cover that anyway. But maybe we do it just in case it doesn't. I don't know. Where I cut this off to here, that's about the width of the trim around the window that we want. So not long to go. We've booked the carpet layers in. They'll be here in 2 weeks. So this weekend we plaster, and then maybe over the next week or the next weekend we paint. And then I've got to add the skirting board around the edges, put a trim around the door. I've got to chisel or rebate the hinge slots on the other side of this door frame and drill out and move this plate to the other side, so the door can open into the room, which in my opinion is a shitload better than the other way. I haven't fit off any of the electrics because other than the light switch, because we needed it to be able to turn our bedroom lights on. Because if you've got power points and you're going to sand and make a lot of dust, you get that dust and sand into the holes of your power points, and that can cause them to have a shorter lifespan than they otherwise might. So, but I've got a box full of stuff, but yeah, I'm just looking at like in those holes there. You don't want them filling up with plaster dust or wood dust or anything if you can help it. There's no reason not to. So, this is what we're doing. So it's the next day, it's Sunday. We had the heater running for a few hours last night, and otherwise it's probably been 24 hours or so since we've finished up in here. Emma's put on a bit of the pottle of paint that we were thinking about for this room. It's called, this is full parchment, but we were thinking like a half parchment as like a base, not quite beige, but like a little bit of jungle theme, camo theme, I guess, what we're going to end up going for. I've just had to re-plaster this bit of paper tape in here because it was basically peeling away, and something that is just highlighted to us again because we came in here to just start standing. One of the main things we were told when we started over here was to make it thin, do a really thin layer. You can always put more on afterwards. It's a lot harder to take it off than it is to put it on. But we certainly put on not enough, I think, because if it's too thin, if there wasn't enough plaster or mud or whatever you want to call it behind your paper tape, it's not going to end up sticking. So we've had to do that one at least. I'm just going to go around them all and check them now. And again, before we start sanding, because this is sort of one of the more important parts, is this sand down, and then we do a final coat of plaster over top of what we already have. And this is where we start to get the finish and what it's going to look like. We want all of this to be smooth, no rough marks or lumps like that, because obviously when you start painting over that, it's going to come out. So sand it all down, and like this wall here is like 20 times better than this crap over here. Like you can just see all of these marks from where the trowel that was used here was the smaller trowel, not the thicker trowel. Paper tape coming away, like you can sort of see the tape. Like I remember adding a second layer of tape in this corner, and it's already sort of bubbled there because I had to put so much plaster in the back behind a bubble that using the trowel actually like cut it along the center of the tape, so I had to put a second piece over. I thought that was the way to go. And like, yeah, you can see the tape. Now maybe that's fine, maybe it's good, I don't know. Definitely experimenting in here at the moment. Emma's not too happy about it. She's just rushed off to Mitre 10 to clear her head and to get some masks so that when we're sanding it down we can breathe a little easier, which is a good thing. But like, look at that, you can see that that's just going to flake off, so we need to peel that back, add more plaster in, and then wait for it to dry again. I think. Yep, still learning, that's for sure. Righto, so just watched a couple more videos on other people on how to do this. Realized when you're doing your second coat, you don't actually sand, don't worry about it. You just need to scrape off any like big dollops or lines that might have formed from when you were scraping, and then just apply another wider coat. So that's what we'll do. This one here is particular because this was a piece of that noise line jib that we used. So this didn't have one of those divots to fill, but this piece here did. So we kind of have a divot, and then it's butting up to a raised piece of this. So this is going to be quite hard to make it look flat overall. Something Emma's looking up right now is, because we've had, again, a few of these pieces that we did the first day, we just didn't have enough enough plaster underneath it, and it's bubbled and aerated. So for that one, I've basically just ripped the paper off completely, slapped more plaster underneath it, and put it back up. And I guess we'll have to wait for that to dry. This one I've tried just lifting it and putting little bits on. But there's a lot of unhappiness about the ceiling, like all of the joins in the ceiling. So all of that paper has been ripped off. And we're going to have to redo that tonight. Because we're on a fucking tight timeline, to be honest. So we can't just wait. We've got to move into action. So tonight we will certainly be doing the ceiling, and we'll be putting a second coat on all of our corners and all of our vertical joins and all of our screws, because we just don't have any time to fuck around. So yeah, it's probably 5:30 p.m. right now, something like that. So, and we did this in 5 hours with 3 people. So yeah, yep, just gotta get it done. G'day guys, so it's Thursday, quite a few days since that last piece of video that you will have literally just seen, I realise now. Yeah, had a bit of a setback. A few of these bits of tape had a whole bunch of bubbles in it, and not knowing how to fix it, they were just ripped off. So I've just finished redoing the ceiling. You can see it is an improvement that we don't have the corners overlapping, the cross overlapping. We were trying out, I don't know, I can't remember what I covered, that this was a colour that we were thinking of wanting, but it's just a bit grey and not quite creamy enough, I guess, what the colour that we're going to go for. So we'll have tea, and then even though we've just done that, we'll clean the tools up, and we'll come and do a second coat on, well, yeah, for most of these it'll be a second coat anyway. And redo all the screw holes so that there's at least 2 coats of plaster on. And then we can leave it for a couple of days, and on the weekend we'll do the final layer of plastering and sanding, ready for painting next week, because we're on an absolute time crunch now. Carpet layers are coming, and they're coming very, very quickly. So not only do we need to have it ready for painting by next week, but during next week as well, it'll probably be good to finish doing the electrics and get that finished. Some coving up around the sides. We have to get the new door in place and trim around the edge, skirting board around the edge. So whole bunch to do and no more time for slacking. Tip for future Sam, because I realise these videos need to be a little bit more about how to not make the same mistakes in future. Everyone kept saying about putting it on a very, very, very thin layer when you're putting this paper up, but it just doesn't work, especially when you're doing the stuff on the ceiling. So get a nice, thick, sloppy layer, push that up, get your paper tape secured, and then just wipe off the excess. It also seems to be that when you're pushing into the paper tape, that can push or pull it, and then that causes up little ripples in it. So it's another reason that it might be bubbling. And with a few of the screws, we've already had that first coat on just to dabble some screws up. It's much easier if you get a screwdriver, finish it off by hand. If it's even just a little bit proud, you're probably going to see that metal coming through when you go to paint. So get them up, and even recess. Just as long as it's a nice smooth hole, you should be able to drag your trowel or your spatula across, and it'd be nice and flat. So yes. So congratulations to Jessie and Dunn, sister and her partner, that have just bought their first house. They've got their settlement day on Friday, so on Saturday we'll be going and helping them move some furniture and stuff, so that'll be cool. That's it for this video. I won't bore you with the second coat, and we'll leave it there. So I'll catch you next time.